Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to receive the world's first international medical podcast, hosted by three paramedics from different countries. Live from the UK, Finland and Australia, this is Group Call.
Hi guys, and thank you for tuning in. Let's talk about age, baby. Let's talk about you and me. So let's talk about when pre-hospital clinicians should retire. Is there an age, or maybe we can work till we die, or maybe we should get this early pension, this early retirement age as police officers, as fire brigade, or maybe our job is not that demanding. Let's find out. Group Call Live. Good morning. Live from Finland, live from Australia, and live from the UK. Good morning, gents. Mr. Timo Silver, Mr. Harrison Steed.
Good morning.
Hello.
So, guys, you both paramedics. When will you retire, Mr. Steed?
When my mind and body are not up to the task of being a paramedic anymore, which may be any day now.
Is there a governing body who will tell you, who will actually assess you and say, Harrison, you're not capable of doing this job anymore, or will it be your decision?
Oh, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I'm sure there's been some discussions with certain providers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd like to think it's always up to the individual, unless, patient safety and patient care are at risk.
Okay, cool. Let's jump from sunny Australia to sunny Finland, because you started a day of summer, didn't you?
Yeah. There's a saying at work in the Finnish paramedicine, which basically goes that every job is one job closer to retirement, and sometimes every job can be two jobs closer to retirement, depending on the job. But no, I actually found a calculator on like a government website for my retirement age, and I popped in my birthday, and it says my earliest retirement age is 67 years and 8 months. So I could start my retirement in the March of 2059, and that they calculated based on like life expectancy, and that will change before I actually retire, so it will go up, unfortunately. But they actually calculate that I would have 23 years of life left after I retire.
Oh gosh.
And well, I'm not too unhealthy, but I don't think I will live to see 90. But who knows? So yeah, there is obviously like a lot of people, especially in paramedicine, actually do retire earlier, and then that's like early retirement, and usually based on like health issues, like your body can't take it anymore, most likely, and then you can retire earlier. But that will also affect your pension, unfortunately.
Yes, in the UK, paramedics should work up to 65, 67. And you know what? For me, it's like 6 more months or something. I can see that Harrison is smiling because we always have this banter about age. Full retirement age, which I feel personally that is slightly unfair, because police officers or firefighters have this pension thingy coming on quite early or slightly earlier than us. Is that the same thing in Australia about police and fire brigade?
Not to the best of my knowledge. It's pretty universal government-initiated age of retirement. Now, you can stop working at any time you want if you've got the money to back it up. So here in Australia, we have two, I guess 3 ways of funding your retirement. One is you just have enough money in the bank to be able to not work and all the power to you.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is the aged care pension. So that's paid via our taxes. It's thought of as a form of welfare. There's like political discussions as to whether it is or not. I'll leave that for someone else to decide. But yes, you qualify for the aged care pension, which is some really minimal amount per fortnight. Like you basically just pay for food and shelter, and that's really about it. You qualify for that at, I believe it's 66 years and 6 months at the moment
Oh gosh.
for the aged care pension. But then we have what we call superannuation. So superannuation is a percentage of your wage your employer will pay above that to a superannuation fund. And depending on where you work, most of them are kind of like investment funds. So they will invest that superannuation money and then build over time. In Victoria, at least where I work, our super fund works a little bit differently. So it's not so much an investment. What it actually goes is our superannuation money goes back into the state government, and when we retire, they basically it's a very, very beneficial system for us. It basically goes how much money did you earn in the last 2 years of work times by how many years you've worked, and then some other multiplier, and it's it's a very, very good system, because a lot of times when there's issues with the market and the stocks and all that sort of stuff, can be very volatile to people's superannuation, whereas ours is quite protected. So to qualify for superannuation, generally speaking, you have to reach age 60. It is earlier for people born prior to 1965, I think. There's like a staggered change from 55 to 60. And there might be some certain superannuation funds that might be different. But for me, working in my job, if I reach age 60, then I can qualify for my superannuation. And once I burn through all that money, then I can qualify for the aged care pension as well.
Okay. Canada. Let's jump across the ocean because we started a quite interesting discussion on Reddit, and I'm guilty of it. Starting a perfect shitstorm on Reddit, posting my picture where I used the face app, and I will show it in a couple of minutes later. But lots of comments from different countries, especially United States. One of the users all basically accused me of ageism, which is not true. We want this discussion not to slack anyone off because of the age. We want to know when actually we should retire, and is our job slightly less demanding than police and fire, or maybe at the moment we are treated slightly unfairly, and we should change it. We should do something about it. We should start lobbying. Is that the word? We should start trying to persuade the government or governments to actually give us this early retirement age, just because of how this job is demanding. Anyway, let's get back to Canada, and user Drizit1221, thank you for your comment, mate. He said, or she said, we have early retirement for first responders here. Full pension and retirement is possible at age of 55. That said, I'm nearly 2 years in and not sure if I will make it to 55. Apparently, and thanks to Air Force veteran, we know that New York City has a similar program, which basically means that you can retire in the age of 55. But generally, as I'm scrolling through all those comments on Reddit, by the way, thank you so much, guys, for leaving us those information. That's really priceless. Majority of countries, there's no special benefit of being paramedic, so you cannot really retire earlier. With that being said, let's jump across the ocean. We are across the ocean because we discussed Canada and New York City. Gina, Laurie, Wendy will try to talk us through quite complicated, I believe, system where she lives.
Hello, my name is Gina LaRue Wendy. I'm with the United States of America here in St. Louis, Missouri. Today's topic is retirement age. The age is sadly over 65. So one is particular 65.5 or 65 and a half years old, then you're able to draw onto your retirement account. Now, with that being said, you have to work for a year and then qualify to start this separate account for retirement. That is the private ambulance agency. Now, the hospital-based ambulance agency actually has a pension. So the pension, once you've been there for 5 years, and you're qualified to even start this pension in your vested time within this company. So they're like, cool, you can start your pension. So once you build up this pension at the age of 65 years old, you're able to draw off money for that full account. So like if I'm like 59 and I'm like, dude, I want to retire, but then unfortunately you're going to take only that amount of pension up to that time where you withdraw it. So at 65, then you get that full pension benefits. So pension here is kind of like where you get your retirement, and it's a certain amount of money per the amount of hours you worked and what you specifically did and how much you put into your pension. So that's a whole nother ball of wax. So if I was a firefighter, paramedic, there's many different unions. There's so many different unions, especially in the United States. So the ones that I know and I work with, the age is 60. So then that's when you're forced retired. So with those cases, a lot of paramedics then resort and go back to that private ambulance agency or hospital ambulance agency where they can work up to the age of 65. Now, you don't have to retire at the age of 65. You can keep on going if you want to go. Keep on going until you're unable to do so, or until you're cognitively incapable of committing to that ambulance requirements. In case like dementia or sickness or something happens and you don't want to work on the ambulance, if you're over 65, you can go. With that being said, a lot of people that do retire find other jobs. Like I know a particular woman, incredible lady, worked all the way up until she was 71 years old. So then she went and did something else, started volunteering for a service, works at a small retail shop, loves her life and all her grandchildren. That's great. But a lot of people just don't retire unless they have a good working job and a great pension. So if you have that good pension, some pensions, they let you actually retire at the age of 55. So if you work in a good location, a paramedic firefighter, for a particular great community or estate, then that means that you could retire at whatever age, like 50 to 60. Another thing is we don't get free healthcare. A lot of people, they retire and they have to work for their medications. So there's Medicaid, Medicare. A lot of times their expenses aren't paid for. So depending upon the agency, you might not be able to qualify for any special retirement benefits. So a lot of people still work for that reason. Okay, another thing is the progression of EMS in general. A lot of times the management is left for younger people. A lot of people don't want to do it when they're older. They're done. They just kind of want to go to work and come home, and then that's their thing. A lot of management jobs is for younger people, younger folks. So anywhere from like 20s to 50s and 60s. I mean, 60, 56-year-olds and 60-year-olds are kind of like over it. They're like, just want to go do my job and then come home and be with my kids or grandkids or dogs or cats or animals. So with that being said, that doesn't mean that there isn't 50 and 60-year-olds that are in management rocking it out to this day. But as far as the current moment goes, the two situations that I work for in companies, they only work, till about 20 to, I would say, 40 to 50. is that highest limit. Now, with that being said, upper management, you could be old and it'd be okay because you're just doing the management side of things. You're not on the truck. You're not busting your butt. It's not 100 degrees outside and you're sweating all over the patient, getting in and out of the truck. Who wants to deal with that? So it's possible that that 60, 70-year-old male or female could be in management. Not a problem. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Now, also, with that being said, if you want to go into education, if that person loves education and wants to go into education, then a lot of opportunities open up. Then that paramedic class, hey, I really want to teach this medic class. Well, guess what? You're retired, so you can devote your time to it. What about that EMT class? Dude, I got you. I'm retired. I can do it. And a lot of great educators are those older educators that have that experience, that have been there before. So that doesn't mean that younger people doesn't, but it's just the time devoted. They have that time to give now. So a lot of education goes into that place. If they want to be a traveling educator, they could do that. If they want to start a company, they can do that. They have the time. Do your research. I would start now while you're early, so then you can retire whenever you're ready to retire. And it's okay. People have multiple jobs and they still retire. So have a great night. Please stay safe, whatever you do, and thanks for watching. Bye.
You are watching or listening Group Call Live, first international podcast hosted by 3 paramedics from different countries, and it's live. I really like this, what Gina said. It's okay to be old. You are old and you can do it. It's okay. We are not, absolutely not trying to discriminate anyone because of the age. We want to find out what is the best age to retire as a pre-hospital clinician. Back to Reddit, user Adopt a Greyhound said, I've got my EMT in late 70s and what was then considered a paramedic in the early 80s is nothing like now. Now, the different paramedics said, I cannot find the comment now, but they said that their partner is 67. Oh, here's the comment. So, my partner is 67 and he's amazing. Not only does he have decades of experience, but he wills like a Jedi. I learn something from him every shift because he loves to share his wisdom and not just war stories. First World War or Civil War? I don't really know. Sorry, apologies. That was a silly joke. I'm old. I'm the first here to say yeah. Thank you. Let's go to youngsters. Mr. Steed, Mr. Silver. Question: what do you think about the changes that actually occurs in the body throughout the aging stages? Do you think that biology plays a role here? And I'm looking at Mr. Silver. Like me? Mm. Actually, that's very true. One of my friends, whose name is Martin, Martin, if you are watching, hello from me. He is slightly more mature paramedic, and he almost never had a back pain, despite of 20 plus years in this job. Yes, he is a manual handling instructor, so he knows how to properly lift. However, he just adhered to the rules, and he's now physically absolutely fine and mentally as well. Speaking of those cognitive changes, Mr. Steed, you are into this brain science. Can you tell us something more about those changes that occurs in brain with age?
Sometimes we do have a bit of a skewed idea of the population because we go to the unwell patients, we go to people with many conditions and comorbidities, but it doesn't always account for everyone in that age bracket. Now, if a paramedic or nurse or doctor or some other health provider were to develop dementia or something like that, then I believe that would exclude them from continuing their profession. But that wouldn't necessarily be as a age specific thing. That's obviously a medical condition that's impairing their ability to practice. Now, yes, we associate that with advanced age, but not necessarily. Like, obviously, there's some patients, unfortunately, in their 40s and perhaps even earlier that develop these conditions. So it's not necessarily just based on age. And we've already discussed a couple of people physically that are very active in more advanced age groups, some of our colleagues, but mentally as well. Often these providers have years of experience behind them that you can't really emulate in a classroom setting. Years of treating and assessing patients and seeing what you can't make up in a textbook kind of thing. Where I would put an asterisk, I can never say the word asterisk to that, is there are certain occasions where experience doesn't always make you a great provider. And I think this is where it comes back to a personal accountability and perhaps an accountability on other providers, other colleagues to recognize when things might be an issue. I've got a number of colleagues in their 60s that are very, very sharp, but most importantly are very open to change, open to the developments in our practice, open to their own personal development and improvement and helping to improve the profession and our organization. Whereas there are also people that have perhaps the same years of experience, but they still prefer to practice in the same way that they did 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And society has completely changed. The health and medical fields have completely changed in that time. So I think that's really where the issue mentally is. It's not so much the forgetfulness that will sort of prevent you from being a good paramedic, because I forget what day it is all the time when I'm asking patients. It's more importantly, I think, a mindset of, am I stuck in my ways of how we used to treat patients back in the 80s?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I open to progressing and reading the newest literature and really sort of furthering and learning, we don't give oxygen to patients with AMI anymore. Like, that kind of thing. Like these things that perhaps have been done for years, being
Mm-hmm.
open to challenging those things. I think that's probably more than the neuroplasticity stuff. It's really a behavioral thing, I think, is most important in recognizing whether someone of advanced age can continue.
And do you have lots of mature paramedics in the service where you work, Harrison?
Yeah. So we have quite a number, and typically speaking, there's many of them that work in like the intensive care paramedic role, but also many work in other roles. Often they will do like an off-road role, so they might work in a communication center as a what we call a clinician, as a like the online medical control
like
referral.
clinical support desk, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So you're contacting them because they've got all these years of experience. They might have reached, and not all of them are pre-retirement like I'm describing, but they've reached a point where it's like, I don't have to do all these night shifts. I'm going to sit behind a desk, and people are going to call me, and I'm going to use my knowledge and my experience to help them on road. But we do have quite a number of I don't want to use the word elderly. I'll keep using that advanced age paramedics. So mature is a much better word, I think, Alex. So I've just got the registration data for Australia. So as of December, there was 22,563 registered paramedics across the country. 32 of those were aged between 70 to 74. And 2 of them were aged 75 and above. Now, these may not be working on an on-road capacity, but these are still registered paramedics that have gone through the motions of maintaining their registration and their continuing education requirements every year. So yeah, that's 34 people out of 22,000. It's not a great deal, but even above, from 65 to 69, there's 250 paramedics in the country that are still registered and still as a practicing registration. So yes, it's a smaller population of our workforce, certainly, but they're still there, and they're still a very important part of our workforce, as long as they're still feeling like they're able to contribute.
And what about Finland?
I don't have the exact numbers, but I found it very interesting that Gina said that in the States, management is more of a young man's or a young woman's game, whereas in Finland, there is a quite clear career progression from an on-road paramedic to a more specialized role, maybe in their 30s, like I am currently, and then starting to move towards that management side of things, or just like the clinical support desk, other off-road roles before their 40s and then in their 50s. Obviously, there's not as many of those positions available as there are paramedics who are mature, but then I think a lot of people that reach the age of like 50 to 60 in the ambulance then go on to do something else. And I think it's just like accumulation of stress, like physical, mental, and like kind of like societal, maybe like their family situation and life situation has changed so much that the shift working is not what they want to do anymore. They want to have more stable hours, like 9 to 5, and then have all the weekends off and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's quite interesting that the States quite different in the management side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they different in many respects.
Yeah,
in many different ways. In the United Kingdom, you can work to your retirement age, pardon me, on the road. But if you want to progress, because we mentioned the career progression now, so let's quickly discuss this side of the topic. You may progress in either managerial way or either educational way, or you can develop in the clinical way. So let's start with the managerial way. You can become a team leader, which means that you are a line manager for 10, 20, sometimes 30 paramedics, depends on the size of the authority you work for. And then you can progress to operational manager, which is a line manager for team leaders. And then you can progress to area manager, which is a manager, for operational managers, and then the sky is the limit. If you think about making a career with managers or in this managerial area. In terms of education, if you want to stay on the road and you still you want to still mentor people, you can become either clinical mentor or clinical team educator. That's different names for pretty much the same role in different authorities. And then you have your normal shifts, but apart from your normal shifts, you have time put aside for managing students, for supporting your learners on the road, for some development work, for creating scenarios on team days for your teams, and so on, so on, so on. Then you can progress to education department, where you become a education manager or senior education manager, and again be responsible for training for either our non-clinical colleagues like patient transport service, or our emergency care assistants, or our associate ambulance practitioners, which is a posh name for technicians. Then you can teach paramedics. You can basically make them aware of new updates. So, for example, in the authority I work for, is every year we have a face-to-face day for staff, and then they coming over for research update, I don't know, let's say pediatrics update, manual handling update. So whatever senior management will prepare for staff, they get a yearly update, face-to-face training, and I think it's really, really beneficial for the staff. But that's education. Now, if you want to develop in this clinical way, you can become a specialist paramedic. You can work for GP surgery. So, as Timo mentioned, that's sitting behind the desk, treating your patients from behind the desk, or sometimes going to their houses for a visit. But there's nothing like shift work. It's nothing like 999 jobs. It's basically primary care job. Then you can work at the hospital, very rarely, but some hospitals do allow paramedics in. You can work on A&E. You can work as a supporting clinician on clinical support desk. Again, that gives you this luxury of nice warm environment and not going out in the truck. So that's the career progression in the United Kingdom. I think that it's quite good. We have couple of pathways you can use as a mature paramedic, but again, it's nothing about the as Harrison said, it's nothing about the brain itself. It's about how you perceive the job, how you do your job, and how good you were to your own body throughout the years of the service. Were you abusing your own body? Were you not adhering to policies and lifting in a bad way? Were you drinking and eating kebabs like me, or were you good and ate good stuff? Again, the sky is the limit. But what I feel, guys, is despite of this whole, do not slag off people for being old. Do not discriminate because of the age. I feel personally, and correct me if you think differently, I feel that we live in the time when young age is praised, when young age is popularized, when we don't really have so many mature heroes in the pop culture. Can you recall famous mature people apart from Jack Nicholson? Hi, Jack.
Not particularly.
Yeah.
I'm not a pop culture expert, I must admit, but yeah, it seems like youth is often sort of more celebrated, and particularly at a sort of societal level. Over here in Australia, at least, I feel like the aged care sector is not really given the attention that it deserves, and aged care people in general. So yeah, it sounds like it's the same across a couple of our countries.
Yeah.
I think like if you are like you're already like older, then people praise you if you are youthful. They don't praise you for being older. They praise you for being but they are so youthful. Or like they're 70, but they're so youthful, and that's like something to be praised. Which is that's kind of weird and
It is
funny,
sad,
but
isn't
not
it?
funny. Yeah.
It is interesting that you mention it because I don't know whether it's the same across your other countries there. Out of the three of us, I completed the undergraduate most recently, and I entered it as a comparatively mature age student. So I didn't go straight out of high school. I, went to uni and then decided to drop out and do some other things and then went back. But compared to a lot of other courses, at least here in Australia, the Bachelor of Paramedicine attracts a wide range of people. So it's not exclusively 18-year-olds straight out of high school. There was myself, I started at, I don't remember now, 25, I think, is when I started the course. No, anyway. But there's people up until their 40s. There's been courses where people started the undergrad in their 50s. You don't really sort of get that in a lot of other university courses. So people that are coming through into the job as new paramedics aren't always starting off as young people. There's several new graduates that we have working for our service that are, in their fifth decade of life, and doing perfectly fine. So they're at a more mature age, but they don't have 20 years of lifting patients up off the bathroom floor. I mean, they might in a previous role perhaps, but not necessarily. Like they're coming in with a fresh mind, so that's very, very different, I think.
That's that's a very valid point because I have this privilege to teach some of the mature candidates, and I have to say that the freshness they bring is amazing. And that being said, I'm 44 now, so I think I'm entering this age when I'm called old by my students or some of my students. Now, again, just touching on this discrimination topic, because again, let me reiterate very strongly that we do not want to discriminate anyone because of the age or any other reason. We just want to discuss this retirement age just to find out where is the best, the most optimal time for a pre-hospital clinician to retire, and what options do we have, and just to compare paramedics to other services. So touching on this discrimination topic, again, going to Reddit and lots of comments, do not discriminate because of age. I feel that there is kind of a discrimination, institutional discrimination, for example, just by creating, let's say, age limits for different jobs. I'm not even talking about paramedicine. Let's think about med schools. Do you have age limits for med schools? In Poland, we have age limit. I think that is 35 at the moment, so you cannot enter med school if you're older than 35. Is that the same in Finland?
No age limit whatsoever. You could go into med school when you're 80 if you wanted to. Just like do it as a hobby when you're retired already, maybe. There's no limits. If you get in, you get in, and that's your spot to be there. And obviously, it's paid for by the government. You don't pay anything to go to university. You actually get paid to do it, and they still support everybody to do it if they get in. So we don't have any age limits that I know of apart from the military service. Like to enter as a conscript, there's an age limit, and also to go into like professional, like if you go to a cadet school, which is a university as well, they have an age limit, but they also retire earlier, and that's like one of the only jobs that retires earlier in Finland.
Okay, Australia?
I am not aware of any age restriction for our medical schools, and I would be surprised if there was any. But I won't go as far as to say that there is none, because I don't know the answer. But yeah, we're very similar here in that our defence forces have more strict age requirements than other industries. But yeah, there's no. I mean, it is written into our laws that discriminating against anything but age inclusive of that is illegal, and employers are not allowed to do that. And we've got a reasonably, I mean, from my opinion, reasonably robust protections for that. So it's not something that I would imagine happens like too often, but I'm sure that it does. I'm sure that decisions are made and they're attributed to one thing, but might be in relation to age. So it would be naive of me to say that there is no discrimination against age, but it is illegal to do so.
And that's a really good point to finish this show with. Ladies and gents, we know that the best time to retire is when you feel that you cannot do this job anymore, and it's not really age related. You can be 67, you can be 85, like me, or you can be 17 like Harrison. Again, if you feel you can do this job, do this job. However, if there is an age limit within your country, it's good to start talking about it. It's good to start the discussion, because forcing someone to do the job when they are not capable of doing the job is not really fair, we feel. Right, gents?
Yeah.
I think I probably speak for all three of us in that we all want everyone watching this, no matter paramedicine, nursing, whatever your profession, we want you to be able to do it for as long as possible. So some of the things that we've mentioned, taking care of your body with correct manual handling, taking care of your mind with good mental health techniques, and keeping up with the literature in your designated profession. These are things that you can do to help extend your useful life, I suppose, in the profession that you're working in. So yes, I hope no one gets the idea that we're trying to advocate for mandatory retirement at a certain age.
No.
We want everyone watching this to be able to prosper in whatever job they're working in, and the important thing is to maintain your own physical and mental well-being to be able to do that.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
I think like in paramedicine, we always work as a team. So everybody brings something, and everybody also brings some like downsides of their own to the team, and then others will support that so that it gets negated. It's like if I'm not the strongest, then somebody else probably will be, and I can be more up to date with the recent studies and such. So yeah, it doesn't really matter like if you're old or young. Everybody brings something, and others will support you.
Absolutely. And to be honest, where is this line of being old? 40, 50, 60? Again, there's no line of being old. This is where you actually feel old or feel young. As I said, I'm 44, and sometimes I feel like 22, or I behave like 17. People who work with me can actually confirm that, especially on shifts. Sometimes I'm like immature paramedic. Anyway, ladies and gents, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this live. Please comment and share, and let us know what do you think about this topic. Harrison Steed from Australia, Timo Silva from Finland, and Alex Hepner from United Kingdom. We wish you all the best and see you next time.